back with the last season of The Walking Dead. Honestly, can't believe I'm saying that. So just like we ended off, the Whisperers ended up burning down all their crops, so now they don't have any type of food. Maggie and some of her group are now home, but now they're dealing with these people called the Reapers. And even worse for Negan, Maggie has chose to stay at Alexandria. Yeah, it's never going to be peace between these two. But we end up cutting it now because last couple episodes of season 10, we actually figured out that Daryl, Maggie, and the others were actually going to a military base. Yeah, I know, Maggie's full of different surprises and knows all kinds of different places. It's probably why her and Georgie were moving around so much. But they do open it up to see that the base does have a lot of weapons, but they have walkers all over the floor and one loud sound and they're going to track them all. Our team makes their way down from the rooftop just like a diamond heist, and each of them end up finding everything that they can, put it in the bags to get ready to go. And this does all go perfectly considering that they have a winch, so if anything gets too heavy, Jerry can get it up. Let's be honest, Jerry's the best side character. But as it looks like all the team ended up looting everything, Daryl ends up getting cut on his arm and we see a nice little blood drop land straight on the walker's face. And that boy wakes up and he's ready for some more. And my favorite part about what Robert Kirkman did with these walkers is as you hear them get up, you can hear their bones cracking because all these walkers have been probably sitting there for years. Thought that just was really cool. But as Carol's about to go up, she ends up seeing more boxes. So Daryl protects her as she ends up walking over to see what's in them. And we are lucky she did because she found a lot of MREs, or basically homemade food for military. And look at Daryl, he literally runs out of bolts and just uses his knives. Like, bro is literally Ghost from Call of Duty. So Carol ends up getting the box, they end up going up, and they all got out of there super lucky. Cause one wrong step and things could have went sideways. Now we're back home. Well, you know, Maggie doesn't feel comfortable with it being home yet, but we'll call it home. Even though they got all of that food, it's only gonna last them a week with all the survivors that they've taken in. And with the crops being dead and animals being gone, basically need a miracle. So Maggie says that she knows one more destination, which she doesn't seem too happy about. And that's because this place does have animals and food that they need, but the only way they'd be able to get it is killing the rest of the Reapers. But even though Aaron doesn't want to fight and he knows that these walls won't hold, Daryl, Maggie, and a bunch of others end up going through the rain. Oh yeah, and it gets better and better. Since Negan's the only one that knows the navigation around here, he has to tell everybody where to go. And don't think they're going to treat him nice anytime soon. So Maggie and all the others end up taking the path. While back with Eugene and the others, we finally figure out that they not got killed. And in reality, they all get put into different rooms where they get asked different questions. The crazy part about it is the questions that they ask them are questions that you would ask before the apocalypse. But as they ask them one question, sometimes they'll end up slipping in where's their group at. But of course, nobody says nothing. And since the four haven't talked all day and now they're finally getting to it, looks like everybody's ready to leave. But with this dude guarding the place, how are they going to get out of here? So back with Daryl and the others, they end up taking the subway station sewers. And at first it honestly looks safe. Until we end up figuring out that every single one of these bags are alive walkers. And all it takes is 1 second for you not to pay attention for them to snap and bite you. But this is a dangerous situation as walkers keep appearing as Negan's trying to fight this one. But after having a close call with that walker, he doesn't think that they need to keep going this way because it might not be safe. And Negan does kind of speak the truth because he does say that Maggie's not even listening to Daryl when she wants to lead. And as soon as she got here, she started becoming a dictator. But Maggie shuts him up quick, saying that they need this food and ammo. And even though it's been 6 years, she doesn't have a problem with killing him now. While Eugene and all the others are figuring out today is the day that they're going to get out. And I think Eugene's got a smart plan. So while we end up seeing King Ezekiel and Princess being taken, we actually figure out that it's Yumiko and Eugene and they're about to get out of there, and this place is called the Commonwealth. But as soon as they're about to leave, Princess ends up seeing a picture of Yumiko. And that's because Yumiko's brother has been at the Commonwealth this whole entire time. And as King Ezekiel says that they can go, she says that she has to stay. And while Negan was telling everybody that it wasn't safe, 2 people ended up taking off with some of their supplies. And even worse, a horde of walkers are coming their way. And at first you wouldn't think it'd be a problem until you figure out that there's still a subway car in the way, and it seems to be blocked off by the sides. So Daryl says that they have no choice, that they gotta go up. So everyone starts to climb the subway car, but Daryl's dog ends up going a different way. So Daryl says he'll find them and he's gonna go look for Dog on his own. So Negan, being the second last person to climb up the car, ends up going fast. But as Maggie ends up going up, she ends up getting grabbed by a walker, losing her grip. And she even screams for Negan's help. But he just leaves. So what's going to happen to Maggie next? Because she just lost her grip. And we're back with episode 2, starting back in the subway. So as we see the perspective of the bottom part of the train car, we end up actually seeing where Maggie fell because Negan didn't catch her. And she does end up making it under the train cart, but we don't know if she's alive or not. Meanwhile, Negan and all the others end up making it. But as soon as they get down, it doesn't take them long to think about where Maggie is. And apparently, lucky for Negan, they didn't end up blaming him off the rip. But when our Alexandrian people say that they need to go back for Maggie, Maggie's people say that they need to keep going because that's what she would want. So now that they got into the train, they're going to have to get through this door that's locked. And they're just going to have to go train car to car to kill all the walkers. And they don't have ammo to fight, so they're just going to have to fight fist to fist. Well, Daryl still followed his dog and ended up finding a tight spot, but finds the other side of the subway station. Not too much is there besides a couple people and their family members that ended up staying at this subway station and had a lot of money. While back with Eugene's people, Yumiko, Eugene, and Princess have been sitting here, but King Ezekiel has still been gone. And of course, ever since that's happened, Eugene has been on a high stress level, so yeah, he's trying not to slip up. Because if he tells them where their group is, they could all be in trouble. So Yumiko goes up to one of the people and tells him that she wants to talk to the boss to figure out where King Ezekiel is. While back with Daryl, Dog ends up falling into a tunnel, so it looks like Daryl's gonna be following. So these people are trying to test Yumiko, but she doesn't even care because she just wants to know where King Ezekiel is and her brother is. Because remember, she ended up figuring out that her family member is still alive and wants to know how he's doing. So while Yumiko's talking, Eugene and Princess wait outside, but she ends up getting up and asking to use the bathroom. So that leaves Eugene by himself, but apparently they're acting weird. Hopefully her team's safe and Eugene's not right. While back with Gabriel and the others, they end up breaking through each car. To hear Maggie end up trying to bust through the train door. Yeah, she's still alive and isn't too happy to see Negan right there, just happy. So as soon as she gets up, she ends up giving him a lovely slap with a pistol. And he doesn't even care. He tells everybody that he didn't help her, not that he tried to kill her. But as they have enough issues now, they're still gonna just keep moving. But at the other side of the train car, they end up hearing somebody screaming. It ends up being the people that Negan scared away and told to go the other way of the train. There was actually 2 of them, and the other one ended up dying, and now he's the only one, and he's trying to get in. But the big problem is he didn't end up closing the door behind himself, so he's got walkers coming now. Negan and some of the others from Alexandria want to save him, but Maggie says that they're not going to be able to save them because he doesn't have any firepower. I know that this is probably a risky thing, but it's crazy that Maggie just doesn't even care anymore. She's grown very cold over these years. So Buddy pulls out his knives and shish kebabs himself and lets the walkers eat his body. So as Maggie and the others end up trying to get to the next door, we end up seeing that everybody's super quiet since, they ended up letting the kid die. And Maggie says that the reason why she's so numb to everything is because of this story. And let me tell y'all right now, it is gruesome. So just like now, her and Georgie and some of the others ended up having to look for food. So Maggie and her people ended up seeing 3 of these other deformed men end up going through the house and knew that they had food. So Maggie ends up following the men back home and says that she just needs a place to stay. But not trusting the men, she ends up putting all of them at gunpoint and figures out that one of them was trying to drug her. She figured out real quick that these men were deformed in the head and they were actually trying to sexually assault Maggie. So she kills one of the men, ends up putting her son in that room and locks him in there to make sure nobody else gets in there, and kills the remaining others. But she couldn't get over this one sound that was in the attic that kept hearing a bunch of thudding noises. And when she got up to the attic, she seen the most gruesome thing ever. And if these people would have got Maggie, the same thing would have happened to her. Apparently, these men would knock out the girls, cut off their arms and legs, stitch them back together so they'd be okay, take out the woman's vocal cords, gouge their eyes out, and do very nasty things to them. And the even nastier part is Maggie said that she could see the baby trying to get out of the mom's body, meaning the kid turned into a zombie walker. Oh my gosh. Not only that, there were many, many, many other zombie walkers that were up there with the same things happening to them. But instead of Maggie having PTSD or just like going crazy about everything, she just ended up caring about the food. Yeah, if you don't want to hear that creepy story, I don't care. I had to hear it, so you had to hear it. Anyways, looks like Daryl's having fun following his dog in the sewers. Yeah, not really, since we know walkers can come from any side. But in reality, it's been a minute since they've been in the sewers. Like, wasn't season 1 the only time they did that? Anyway, he makes it outside to see that he's not on the train side, so he just needs to follow one of the ways to figure out where the rest of Maggie and the others are. And, find his dog. But he ends up seeing a dude running at him, and it's not a walker. It's actually the other dude that ran off with the ammo and the other stuff earlier. How that one kid killed herself in front of Maggie? Yeah, he had a friend, and this dude was him. He does end up collapsing, but Dog comes in for the rescue. And Daryl helps up the dude and asks where the ammo thing is, and apparently he lost it, so he ends up giving Daryl his pistol and a grenade and tells him to go off. But even though it cuts to the next screen, I doubt Daryl's just going to leave him. While Maggie and the others successfully ended up getting to the next door, it seems like the other one is blocked off by apparently some type of chair. So the door's about to break, they get in formation with the rest of the ammo that they have, and they're going to have to fight these walkers. They end up coming in, and Gabriel ends up killing a couple with the shotguns, while Maggie and the others end up killing some with the arrows. And they end up running out of ammo, so now they have to fight with their weapons. But not only that, it looks like walkers are coming from both sides. But Daryl's on the other side seeing the horde, so he's trying to make a plan to get his team safe. And by plan, I mean Daryl says F it, pulls out his pistol, and goes John Wick mode, killing all the walkers. Just going straight through the carts, killing them one by one. He ends up moving that chair out of the way so all of them can get through. Before he closes the door, he tells everybody to get down and throws a grenade, shoves it straight through a walker's mouth, and he shuts the door as the grenade ends up blowing up, killing all of the walkers in the place. Alright Daryl, don't be sticking your hands in Walker's mouth, don't need you bit. So back with Eugene, we see at nighttime he's making a shiv, but ends up getting interrupted by a bunch of Commonwealth. The black guy is supposed to be kind of the army leader, ends up talking to Eugene, telling him that he just doesn't need to be nervous. And the dude tells Eugene that he knows when he's lying or not, so Eugene ends up telling him about the beans, but talks about other stuff, like him being a virgin. Like, yeah, I had the same face when I heard that too. But Eugene just says he wants to be taken to his crew and know that they're safe. And also Eugene wants to know where Stephanie is, the woman that he's been talking to and kind of fell for. So they mask up Eugene, and I guess he thinks that he's about to die, but they end up taking him to a room. Sees that King Ezekiel, Princess, and Yumiko are all okay, and King Ezekiel's actually been being treated for his cancer with medicine. And everything's actually going really well. And the leader dude ends up coming in and telling them they did good in processing, and tells them that they are here in Commonwealth and they're allowed to stay here. So even though they're kind of scared, they're all greeted inside the Commonwealth. But before we get to that, it looks like Eugene ends up getting to meet Stephanie. So this might be the start of true love, and maybe you might not be a virgin for too long. While Daryl, Negan, and all the others finally end up getting out, Maggie says that she knows another little secret cache that they can go to that Georgie knew about. And Negan being the navigator, he knows exactly where they're going, so it's time to move. So we see her teams walking as they're trying to get to the next cache, but see a bunch of people that got killed and hanged by their feet. And yeah, at first you think it's like 10 or 20. No, this goes all the way down the street and possibly farther, so they've been killing a lot of people easily. And her team doesn't take the hint that it has to be the Reapers. One of the dudes ends up getting killed. One of Maggie's men ends up getting knifed into the stomach and the leg, and the others are getting shot by arrows. And we thought our group was big. No, the Reapers are coming, and they're coming in a pack. Will our team survive? I guess we'll just have to find out next episode. And we're back with episode 3, starting straight back with where Maggie and all the others are getting attacked by the Reapers. Not too fun, and we already know people are going to end up dying. And literally speaking of that, one of Maggie's men ended up getting his neck slashed, while the other gets hit with like 4 blades, so you know he's going to be tapped out too. Negan ends up getting hit in the leg, but you know that he's not going to stop going. And they're fast. Even one of them ends up getting Gabriel in the throat, but he does not die. It looks like one of the dudes are running, so Daryl goes after him with Dog, while Maggie tries to fight one, but ends up getting attacked by another. Her friend tries to get her out of the ropes, but then he ends up getting roped out too. So now Maggie knows that she's fighting this dude, and she knows that he's not going to be easy to take out. But it looks like neither is Maggie. Now back with Alexandria, I'm going to tell you right now, not too much is going to happen. Alexandria needs food, so they're going to have to go out and try to find some, and they're going to try to find horses. While it ends up becoming daytime, we see that Maggie's by herself still running around, but she gets followed and then ends up getting into this building, locking herself in and trying to look around. While luckily Gabriel's neck wound wasn't fatal. Even though these Reapers are super strong, it looks like Gabriel got the best of one of them, and he's running away right now, and it looks like Gabriel's not going to let him get away. Yeah, our team's been through a lot, and I don't think they're going to let everyone just take what they have. While Maggie ends up looking through the factory, ends up finding Alden. But of course, a Reaper ends up attacking him, and one ends up attacking Maggie. And as they fall, Maggie ends up picking up a ball, sticking it right into one of the Reaper's heads, while Negan hits him with the crowbar. But just as they're about to kill him off, they end up getting stun grenaded. So they go back to help Alden. And it looks like Negan and Maggie are working together to get Alden out. And then we end up cutting to Rosita, which we haven't seen in a minute, and she's over here getting mushrooms. And the only reason why she's kind of in this episode is to help Carol get the horses. It's not going to be easy because Carol and all the others have been trying, but the horse is pretty fast and likes to take off every time. And back with Maggie and Negan, they end up seeing that Agatha's still alive, which apparently she's the only one that's alive in Maggie's crew. Well, I mean, he survived, but he's gonna die because his wounds are too fatal. while Carol's side adventure is going very amazing because they end up getting a lot of horses. But as Maggie and Negan killed all of their Reapers, it looks like Gabriel's still gotta kill his. And it don't seem like he has too much of a problem with that. And as Maggie, Alden, and Negan are traveling through the woods, they end up seeing a little sign that they got left for them, which is a lovely person that got their hands tied behind their back behind a stick and got burnt to death. But with all these walkers in the way, Agatha ends up getting bit, and there goes all of Maggie's team. Yeah, basically her and her son are the only ones left. Oh yeah, and the masked dude, as long as he didn't get killed by the Reapers. And Carol and all the others end up getting back with horses, and that's probably what they're gonna have to eat for tonight. Which is honestly a very sad scene to see. But you gotta survive somehow, and all the kids are just gonna have to eat this and just deal with it. But even little Glenn says that when he was on the road, he had to do this all the time. My boy is literally meant for this life. Ford's still following Negan and the others. They end up finding a place for Alden to just sit so he can, not die. But after all of them talk, Alden ends up telling Maggie and Negan that they need to just keep going. So I'm pretty sure they're on their way to Alexandria to get help for Alden. But keep in reminder, now it's just gonna be Negan and Maggie. Let's hope that these two don't get into a fight. And we're back with episode 4, seeing when, Alexandria got attacked by the Reapers. Even though we ended up seeing everybody else's perspective, we only seen Daryl and Dog run away, so now we get to see what happened with them. Because Negan, Gabriel, and some of the others are already back on their way home as they killed most of the Reapers. So it looks like this episode we're going to get more of a Daryl mission. As he's trying to get away, he ends up seeing a Reaper, and he knows that they're pretty smart, so he ends up throwing a bottle to make the sound go towards him, making the Reaper end up turning right so Daryl can go through. He ends up making it through the forest, but ends up getting followed, and he ends up seeing that these aren't the Reapers, or it looks like them, but it's not. But just like the Reapers, they are very skilled in fighting. Daryl ends up getting the best of one, but he ends up trying to get up while Dog attacks him, but he throws Dog. When Daryl tries to get up, 3 more end up coming towards him. But he's not stupid. He throws a knife straight at him and takes off. And he is not looking to get followed, so he ends up opening up a walker just like Rick, covers himself up, and it looks like he's trying to make his way back home. But not too far if it looks like one of them's following. So while Daryl's still walking, he ends up finding a Dog, and it's with this lady. Oh yeah, and you want to know why Dog's so attached? Because it's literally Leah, the woman that Daryl was with in his other extra episodes. Or, the true owner of Dog, and the one Daryl spent most of his time with looking for Rick. I swear, Daryl can't get a break. Anybody that he ends up loving, he has to kill. And she's got more help, so it looks like Daryl's gonna be in a pickle. Scratch that, he ends up making it to the base, which we see is not the Reapers. And the reason they brought him back is because they know that Daryl was with those other people, Negan and all the others, and he thinks that they're going to be getting information out of him. So first Leah comes up and asks him about his group, but Daryl just says that he was with Maggie and the others just to get food. And now he's only known them for about a week. But either way, it doesn't look like she ends up believing him as she tries to wipe off his face with a rag. She ends up suffocating him to knock him out. And then he wakes up in that GTA 5 episode where you're getting waterboarded. But they're not letting Daryl press X to get up. Obviously, the men are way more brutal trying to get answers out of Daryl, but Leah tries to keep him alive at least, so at least some of her has to care about Daryl. But either way, our perfect main character does not budge, and since he won't talk, he's going to be stuck in his cage. But while all that's happening, it looks like one of Leah's people from her group actually ended up dying, and everyone seems very sad about it. Besides their boss, he looks extremely pissed and he wants only vengeance on Daryl's crew, and they don't even know about Daryl's crew. And the way he scares his group, even though they're a very strong team, makes me think that this dude's way stronger than we think. So Leah ends up going up to Daryl one more time and tells him that if he don't give her any more answers, that Pope's going to come down here and he wants to do some vengeance to somebody. And that's where Daryl kind of opens up. He says that he couldn't understand what most of them were talking about because they were speaking in code. But he said that the leader was Maggie, a woman, and he said that the other two was Negan and Gabriel, the priest. And he also says that he overheard one of them saying that they had the numbers. Even though in reality we already know that Daryl's part of Alexandria. But it gives her just enough information to give to her boss, named Pope. Pope is still mad because apparently she went on a fishing expedition with her boyfriend, and that's how he ended up dying. And when Leah ends up telling him that Daryl's actually a good asset for their team, Pope says that he's probably just trying to get in her pants, but he can tell that she definitely loves him. Because, Daryl will probably be dead by now. So Pope says, alright, he's going to test him for her. So it looks like Daryl and Pope are about to meet. So while Carver, the one in the middle, and the other two end up picking on Daryl, Leah comes in and stops them because she tells him that Pope's coming. While she unties Daryl, Daryl ends up asking her if he needs to know anything about this Pope, and she just says that he needs to be calm. So then she goes to get Pope and leave the door, but apparently the door's closed. Well, we all know this can't be good. And of course the lights end up going off and we end up getting a huge flame from the bottom. Yeah, the leader Pope made them both part of this challenge, as they have to get out of a burning wooden building. And it's not easy because the smoke's getting really thick and the fire's spreading fast. But Daryl does move fast, ended up finding a pole, so he ends up taking the planks off this window and pushes all of it out. Then he grabs Leah, pushes her out first, and then gets out himself, just for them to get out to the right side as Pope and all of the others were watching. Oh yeah, we're gonna call this group the Mercenaries. And Pope, the leader, welcomes him. So him and Daryl just sit down and have a little talk. Apparently Pope and all of his people have actually been through the war. That's why their fighting is so enhanced and their survival instincts are amazing. But as he's sitting talking to Daryl, it's like he's got such a nice personality to himself, but we just know something's about to be really off. So after they get done talking, he ends up asking Daryl if he's hungry, and Daryl says yes. So while everybody's enjoying their night eating, Pope comes out and greets everybody, telling everybody to treat Daryl as a brother. But speaking of brothers, that one dude that died earlier, Turner, apparently his brother did not try to make him survive. Because Pope keeps digging into it and says if he was actually trying to help his brother from the front, why does he have scars on his back? Don't really understand his logic, but who cares? Because it looks like nobody's going to stop him from throwing him into the fire and keeping his head in with his boot. Yeah, I told you he's going to be crazy. Just the nice ones are always crazy. Anyways, let's figure out Daryl's next move next episode. And we start with episode 5, starting with Negan and Maggie actually still going to the radio tower to get food. Yumiko with Eugene and all the others at the Commonwealth is still figuring out about her brother. And even Eugene actually found the woman that he's been talking to this whole entire time. While back at home in Alexandria, they're still trying to fix up the walls. And not only that, it looks like Aaron's going through it because he keeps having nightmares of all the people he's killed. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, if I had to fight the Whispers in a war, I probably wouldn't be able to sleep either. And as Aaron and all the others end up sleeping a day through, it looks like the wall just keeps collapsing. But our team gets the best of them and puts up the wall. And then we're back with the Commonwealth watching a little 1980 video that you'd watch back in school. Instead, it's introducing the Commonwealth. And even though they're all initiated into being in the Commonwealth, Eugene still wants to get home. But in reality, if they actually can make this home, maybe they won't be starving. And back with Negan and Maggie, of course they have to argue, and Negan hits her with, "Why haven't you killed me yet?" And in reality, it looks like Maggie asks that question to herself every day. While the others end up going to Hilltop to see if they can scrounge up any supplies. Back at Alexandria, it looks like Judith's actually teaching people how to swing. Gotta learn early to take out these zombies. So Maggie and Negan actually do find some supplies that he thinks that they should just leave, but Maggie says they have to find enough food for the whole entire community. And as Yumiko walks in the Commonwealth, it looks like she's finally found her brother making a cake. And I guess everybody's just getting everything at the Commonwealth because even they have ice cream. Maybe we might need to stay. And earlier, as Judith was teaching everybody, some of the kids actually knocked her down and said that her mom left her and that she would never be back. Now Judith is super sad, so we better get Michonne and Rick back soon. But lucky for her, she still has Rosita to come for her. And while Aaron and all the others are clearing out Hilltop, they actually figured out that some of the Whispers actually survived. They're not wearing a mask like they used to, but that means their team definitely doesn't trust them. Lydia even says that he's changed, but Aaron just remembers what happened to all his people. So they take him to the underground prison part where they see that there's more people just sitting under here. Yeah, we're not the only ones starving. There's a lot of people in the apocalypse. But of course, when they try to help, one ends up slicing Aaron and goes to attack him as the others try to run out the door. And they end up catching a dude that slashed Aaron, and he ends up saying, "Now it's my turn." While we peacefully come back to the Commonwealth. And it reminds me of the place that the governor actually ran, but even better. Guards everywhere, food everywhere. But even though everybody's still here, we don't know the mysteries of this place. You know, hopefully they're not pulling a governor. So apparently Yumiko's brother was actually a doctor, but now he makes cakes. Even though she's willing to get him out of here, he says that he likes his life here. While Princess is being a little flirty with the general, trying to snoop and get answers, or is she really feeling him? Can't even tell. Aaron's being cruel to this dude using a zombie to get answers from him. But as he talks, Aaron doesn't believe him, so he ends up making the zombie bite his arm. Pretty cruel if you ask me. But even though Aaron was right to do that, Carol even tells him that he's going way too overboard just like she used to. So she tells him that he just needs to calm down and not let this overtake him. So he ends up letting him go. And while Rosita and Judith are listening to the radio, they actually end up hearing Eugene from the Commonwealth. As she ends up asking if Eugene's still there, he's trying to use the communication when the general ends up breaking through the door. He cuffs them, and it looks like they're going to try to track down where they ended up finding that call. While Maggie and Negan are trying to wait out anybody else that survived, like Daryl and Gabriel and the others. But Daryl doesn't make it, but Gabriel and some of the others do. So even though Eugene and the others aren't getting banished, it looks like they're going to pay for what they did one way or another. While Aaron and Carol and all the others end up leaving all the Whispers that stayed there. And hopefully our Aaron doesn't change to cold-blooded. And we're back with episode 6, starting off with Connie and Virgil. Now obviously when we see Michonne and Virgil, he had a couple screws loose, so hopefully he doesn't get Connie killed. Because at the moment they're on their own by themselves and do not know where to go. But even though Virgil doesn't know where he's at, he does know that there's a house nearby and that they can go there for shelter. So they make their way to the place and end up taking out the walkers in the front, while almost getting attacked by another one, but Connie busts the door open just in time to save them. Yeah, it looks like they're not getting to Alexandria anytime soon. And now we're back to Alexandria, and we see that they're actually trying to look for Connie right now. So if they spread out far enough, hopefully they will find them. Because either way, it looks like Connie's sister's still looking for her, while Connie and Virgil are still checking out the place. And why this episode's so good is because Connie is deaf, so it really just puts you in her perspective. Because in reality, most people don't know sign language in the zombie apocalypse. So it's really cool to see her and Virgil put in a standpoint where they actually have to talk to each other and she has to write things down. But even though she's been pushing it and trying to make sure the place is safe, he ends up telling her that she needs to take a nap. Because sleep is important, believe it or not, especially when you're super stressed. But while Connie ends up looking through a wall, she swears that she ends up seeing a zombie through it and ends up telling Virgil that they're going to have to check the place again. Meanwhile, back with Daryl and the new group, it looks like they're torturing that dude from Hilltop so they can basically figure out where Maggie and all the others are. And Pope ends up asking Daryl if he's okay with all this, and Daryl says that he's done it before, which we remember. Season 2 Daryl was something else, but Pope ends up saying, alright, bet, I'll put you in there. So now Daryl's gonna have to torture one of his friends, and the most respectful part about the dude is he doesn't give up Daryl at all. So Daryl's gonna ask him some questions, and if he don't give him answers, it's gonna be bad. He doesn't end up telling them where Maggie and all the others are held up, so it looks like he's gonna start losing some fingers. And even though the dude's super strong, losing a couple fingers will make you rethink what you're saying. So he ends up telling him exactly where Maggie and them were held up, actually. And just with the look of Daryl's face, he can tell that he was not lying. While we see that Connie's still looking for medicine, but ends up seeing another walker through the wall. She starts to freak out and tries to wake up Virgil. And as she's trying to sign language super fast, he can't understand her. So she makes sure to tell him and writes a note on the wall saying not alone. While Pope sent a recruit mission onto the house to see if Maggie and all the others are actually there. But as they search through most of the houses, it seems like they're all cleared. And when all that's going on, Connie says that she's ready to get out of here, while Virgil says that this place is safe, which it's not. And with Connie and Virgil, it looks like they end up getting split up, and she is freaking out. I really like how everybody that made this episode actually put it all together like a horror episode. My favorite part about it is how it just goes back and forth with Connie being deaf and then back into the sound where Virgil hears. And with no sound and her only using vibrations, stuff can still spook her pretty easily. So if you watch this episode, get ready for a bunch of jump scares and this nasty looking thing following her for the whole entire episode. While Daryl and all the others still breaching door to door and still can't find anything. But as we see, Daryl's kind of anxious to get them out of this house. We see that Maggie and all the others are literally under the floorboard. So Leah ends up saying that they need to get back home because they don't have time to be doing this. While Carol and all the others end up finding Connie's sister and help her try to find her. And back to the true horror, Connie. The one monster's still trying to get through the door, but she's holding it shut and it don't look like it's going anywhere. She ends up walking down to the basement where we hear bones crack, but she can only hear the vibrations knowing what the sound is. But all that can stress out a person pretty bad, so she ends up going through the vents like it's Outlast. Still seeing zombies in the walls as she looks through them. And then we finally see what Virgil's been doing. He's fighting against a bunch of walkers. Connie's not too far off because it looks like she can see through a little hole in the wall where he's fighting. She ends up hitting on the wall, but then she tries to kind of Morse code the wall so you can tell that she's a human. But when he gets closer, that demon-like person actually ends up coming out behind him. Wait, and it's actually attacking Virgil. Is it real? Either way, he ends up stabbing it and ends up getting away while Connie's trying to get to him. But she better be very careful because Virgil still thinks it's just something behind the wall. One wrong knife cut and that could have been Connie's life. But she ends up pushing her hands through and he ends up figuring out it's Connie, so he pulls her out. While Daryl's trying to get all of them out there as fast as he can, but Carver just feels like something's up. But of course, before they can end up checking the room, we end up seeing them all get into an argument where Daryl kind of ends up stalling. It's like he's telling everyone that he's only there for the woman. And even though he's making it sensational, we all know that he's just trying to give them time to get out. But as Leah agrees that they need to get going, Carver thinks of one last thing, the rug under Daryl. He pushes him out of the way as he goes to look at it, and I think Daryl was going to kill him if he ended up finding something, but he looks to see nothing's down there. Yeah, that'd probably be because Maggie and all the others are slipping behind the back. Yeah, y'all better get out of here. And Carol and all of them have traveled and traveled until they finally got to that place that we seen Connie and Virgil earlier, so they're getting close. Yeah, and back with Connie and Virgil, we end up figuring out that those things are not demons. Those are real people. Basically, they're pale white, bony, and walk on 4 feet, and they actually act like dogs. And what they do is they attract people to this house specifically so they can kill them off. So they basically get by eating people. So that's probably why they're kind of, rampant. Like, look at these things. Imagine these things are trying to kill you in the zombie apocalypse. In the zombie apocalypse, as they end up taking two of them out, one spider monkey's on Virgil's back, ends up stabbing the crap out of him. But as he ends up saying to leave him, Connie ends up pulling him away. She ends up making it downstairs, but now there's too late. There's too many of them, so she does one thing. Starts putting a bunch of guts on herself, and at first I was like, that's not gonna get an attraction of them away. But instead she has a high IQ and opens the door to let the walkers in so they don't attack her and attack all of them. They end up making it outside, but some of them end up following, and all we hear is the sound of a slingshot take them out, which isn't Connie, it's her sister. Yes, they're finally all reunited, and it's a really heartwarming moment. While Daryl and the others end up getting back to Pope, telling him that they don't have any evidence for him. But Pope starts to laugh and says that he's got all the stuff that he needs. Apparently he tortured the crap out of the dude, so we don't know if he knows about Alexandria or if he knows about Daryl being a traitor. And early on in this episode, Daryl did say he was scared of him, and I understand why. Also, he ended up killing the dude. But Pope just takes off with Carver and doesn't say a thing to Leah or a thing to Daryl. Are they both in trouble, or did he find something else? Find out next episode. And we're back with episode 7, starting out with Maggie and all the others getting out. And it looks like they're still going to go on their way to get that food. So Negan says that they're all going together, that she has to make a promise that they all got to be on the same team. Not really easy for Meg, but she is a woman of her word. So it looks like the first thing they're going to do is kill a couple walkers, and they're probably going to do what you're thinking. While Eugene's girlfriend, Eugene himself, and King Ezekiel and Princess are all clearing out rooms because, they got in trouble. With all this work that they're doing, King Ezekiel still needs more medicine for his cancer. And if he has to keep clearing out rooms, then he might just die. And I'm honestly glad they threw in Princess. She's honestly been a really likable part of the crew, and she's honestly kept everybody on their toes. While for one minute, I honestly thought Daryl and Dog actually got away from everybody, but he sees one of Leah's crew put up all this food, guns, and everything, and Daryl asks if he needs help, but he says no, that he's got it. So instead, he ends up asking the soldier if he wants to smoke, which he does, and honestly, I thought Daryl was just going to kill him and take the whole thing of food and go. But when Daryl and all them end up coming up short-handed again, Pope goes crazy saying that their family members are dying because of these people. But Leah almost gets herself in trouble with Pope, but Pope tells her to take Daryl and them both to go find his enemies now. And if they come back empty-handed this time, it might not be good for them. So we get a good scene with them two talking, but honestly it just makes me sad because we know that Daryl's going to end up taking off sometime. Because Leah's honestly a nice person and really good to Daryl, but she's just on the wrong side. While Maggie is putting on the Whisper mask and she is trying to walk around zombies. Looks like they're going to try to get into a horde. And it is kind of smart because the last thing people are going to think about is the zombies. When she tries, the mask looks like it's just too loose and she ends up falling and almost gets attacked by a walker. Negan and her dude end up taking the walker, putting him back to the tree because Maggie's going to have to try this again, even she don't like it. It looks like Gabriel and all the others end up finding the place, because the dude he's seen earlier, he ended up tracking down. And while Yumiko's her brother's lawyer, she ends up sitting there because she's about the testimony for him. But as they sit down and get serious for a minute, for some odd reason, they're taking Yumiko's brother. While it looks like Maggie and the others are actually getting used to being a walker, so maybe this can help out to their advantage. Then we cut back to the Commonwealth where we see Yumiko actually talking to the leader, Hornsby. He seems like a pretty good dude so far, but we know how the governor went. Yumiko asks where her brother is hostile like, and he ends up saying that he has him, and that he just needs a minute with him, and that he'll be home tonight. And I know he runs the place, but I just cannot get over that smile. And Dara and Leah end up finding nothing, until they end up finding a dude. Leah ends up asking if he's part of a group, and he says that he's just here trying to help his dying wife and his son. And Leah and Daryl say to prove it, take him to him right now, or he's gonna put an arrow in his head and then do the same to his family. And Leah ends up calling in the Pope, asking what she needs to do when they get to the place, and he says to kill them all. But maybe Hornsby ain't too bad of a guy, because when they ask King Ezekiel if he can get medication, it looks like he's way better now. But that doesn't mean that they get to have a little parade. Hornsby says that he needs to split them up and get them to work again. He needs King Ezekiel and Princess to clean the upper part, but then he needs Eugene and his girlfriend to come help him on a different mission. But when Eugene and her end up approaching her area, they end up seeing a boy and a girl end up making out while there's walkers coming right behind them. Like, what are they doing? So Eugene does what any rightful person would do, go out and take out the walkers. And I'm not gonna lie, Eugene's been kind of a little badass lately. But once they end up clearing the place, the kid says what is wrong with them. And literally he could have died, so Eugene's like, pardon me? I'm not gonna get disrespected like that. And while they're arguing, it looks like Eugene's not noticing the zombie because he keeps talking to the dude, which forces Eugene's girlfriend to take out the walker now, getting blood on his girlfriend's shirt. He then calls her a rude female dog and ends up getting punched by Eugene right in the face. But we see that Eugene's girlfriend's trying to apologize as much as she can possible, so this might not be good. Yeah, Mercenary and Hornsby end up coming out asking if he actually hit him. And it looks like Hornsby's actually pissed and says, "Do you not know who this kid is?" While Yumiko's going to talk to the other leader that's also running this place called Pamela Milton. It looks like she's going to wait quietly in the restroom for her. Until we see the worker pick up the phone. She says that Pamela Milton's not going to be able to meet their meeting because her son got punched. Yeah, Eugene, you punched the wrong one. So we cut to where they ended up putting Eugene. And yeah, punching a kid that's parents kind of run the place isn't where you want to go. But apparently he's still down to be reasonable with them because he wants something. And now that he's in this much trouble, he wants the coordinates of his team right now. And show him how to get there, or he's not going to be helping them at all, and he's going to leave him in here for good. So as Hornsby's about to leave for the second time, it looks like Eugene might spill, while Maggie, her other friend, and Negan are going in as zombies. Then we end up coming back with Daryl and the dude. We see that he's actually going to take them to his house, and also that he's got a hidden place where his wife's actually hurt and his son's sitting with him. It's really a very sad scene to see because you just don't want to lose someone that you loved in an apocalypse. But Leah now does not want to kill any of them, so she says that he has to take his boy and get out of here. Or there will be people to come get them and they'll do way more brutal things than a walker could. So we get a sad emotional scene where a dad and a son has to say bye to their mom. Anyways, it looks like Negan and all of them end up getting a huge horde, and they're going to go straight for the walls. Let's just hope they don't get stabbed or shot as a walker. And we're back with episode 8, and this is going to be ending the first part of season 11. Next part should be out soon because I'm going to keep getting these videos out. I'm not going to take a big break. It's just that work's been extremely killing me lately, and I apologize. Now let's get to episode 8. We cut to Daryl and all the others at Pope's place seeing that all the walkers are coming towards them, but they don't know the reason why. But as Daryl's looking at them and everybody's confused on what's going on, even Daryl knows what's going on. Because Daryl and all the others have wore the Whisperer mask and know how you attract them and make the walkers come. As this huge horde of walkers is coming towards Pope's place, he ends up sending one of his men out there, attract the walkers away, and he says that he's doing pretty good at it. You know, until he gets cocky and then a whole nother horde comes behind him. Yeah, he tries to fight him off. I mean, he probably could have left, but no, he's too late. It becomes a zombie Happy Meal. But instead, they loved it. Now, at Alexandria, what's happening is a humongous storm, which isn't good because we all know that the walls aren't strong, so if the wind keeps pushing it down, that means the walls are down and the walkers are coming towards the houses. And I mean, the windmill is on fire, literally the walls flying around. And now with all the walkers outside, Pope is pretty sure that they're going to get attacked. So that means the enemy has to be close, so they're going to annihilate them. And with all this being said, Pope's kind of like, Daryl, why are you even around if you're not going to help me with my enemy? So then he tells a story about how he ended up rescuing this dog, but even looking through its eyes, he never could tell if it was trying to bite him or actually love on him. And that's how he says Daryl's been looking at him this whole entire time. But Daryl just plays it off and says that he don't bite. So after all that, one of Pope's men outside end up calling him in and says that they're back. Like, Negan and Maggie working together is kind of insane. But the only problem is Daryl ends up asking how strong the gate is, and he says they ain't gotta worry about how far they get. And yeah, they have landmines sitting out. Daryl's face explains it all. One wrong step and he could lose some friends. But of course, freaking out, Daryl ends up scoping out the place, ends up finding Maggie and Negan, and it looks like they made it behind a truck safely. But of course they have to be under the place when there's a guard. But Daryl ends up coming out and asking him if he needs a smoke, so he goes to strike a match for him but ends up dropping the match. And as soon as he goes for it, Daryl sticks a knife straight through his throat. And Daryl's actually very smart for this because he throws the body down to Maggie and then which they can use the walkie-talkie to hear what's going on. Daryl then pops up and tells him to go that way now, which is also the door he goes to, and breaks it so the walkers can get in. But while Negan and Maggie still don't know where any of these landmines are going, they have to keep pushing through. And as Daryl finally thinks that he won, it looks like Pope says reinforce the walls and ready the Juancha. And if you're just like me and Daryl, you're probably like, what the f-? Actually figure out that the people that run the horde right now is Negan and Maggie's man, while Maggie and Gabriel have actually infiltrated the place. And to be honest with you, at Alexandria, not much is actually happening. Just Rosita being Rosita and absolutely destroying everyone. Oh yeah, and you wanna know what Juancha is? Yeah, pay attention to what she's pulling out right now. Huge, humongous sticks that will fly out at her crew that can destroy and decapitate anything in seconds. And with that amount of sticks, they will not be missing a target. And while Leah and Daryl are talking alone, that's why Daryl finally opens up and says he has to tell her something. He finally ends up telling Leah that those people that they're fighting are his people. They're good people, they just need food because they're starving. He tells them that they have families and everything. So he begs her to stop what's about to happen, and she just tells him that he's a liar. And Leah ends up saying, what if Pope finds out? And Daryl says he doesn't need to know and that they can go now. But when Pope ends up coming back, he ends up telling Daryl that the last thing he needs him to do is find that woman so he can do the things he needs to her. Which we all know what that means. He's gonna torture her and probably treat her just like he would a man. But will Leah tell on Daryl? Hopefully not. So as Maggie and Gabriel ended up making it through the walls, Gabriel took one of the outpost spots, and Maggie is hot wiring a truck because she's gonna push it straight through the walls. So she ends up driving the truck perfectly, aims it right for the walls, ends up going straight through it, making walkers come through. Pope and all the others end up seeing, and now they know that Maggie's inside their walls. And even though all of Pope's people down there are literally fighting to help him, he's about to set the Yamaha thing off, which Leah literally tells him if he sets that off that he could literally kill all of his people. But Pope's this insane, he literally will go this far just to kill his enemies. So he tells his right hand man to set it off, and he sets it off. No other choice, Daryl comes out of identity and he takes out his knife ready to kill Pope, but instead Leah kills Pope, and Daryl ends up putting out the Yamaha. And with that help, it looks like Maggie and Negan are taking out the rest. And yeah, now you're thinking, yeah, Leah's on her side with Daryl, now she's gonna come home with us. No, she stares Daryl in the face, calls in the rest of her people that are alive, and tells them that Pope is dead and that Daryl just killed him and that he's an outsider. That's where Daryl literally asks why she would do something like that, and she says that he's doing the same thing she's doing, trying to keep her family safe. So with Carver and some of the other henchmen coming, Daryl's gotta take off. And Carver seems super pissed at Leah, but Leah just tells him to close the gates because nothing's getting out of here and everything in here is getting destroyed. So Maggie and them are all fist fighting trying to kill off all these people, but they get called in by Leah to retreat, which is not a good thing. Oh yeah, Maggie realizes that pretty quickly because all we see is Leah's sinister face as she lets the Yamaha go off and all the rockets are coming towards our team. Will they survive this rampage of rockets or will they die? Find out next video.